The October Project, 20 years later, October 17th, 2009. Typically, when I do these October Project retrospectives, I open the photograph that I am talking about and I stare at it and I try to remember the moment or feeling and whatever so I can get some context to tell these stories. And I usually don't write them out. It's kind of just an off the cuff. Here, this is my picture and what it means to me, or what the sentiment behind it was. But the picture for today, even though I am looking at it right now, I wouldn't have to look at it because this picture has been burned in my soul since 2009. And as I record this, my kitty, Albert, he can tell the change in my voice because he came over to see, hey, Mom, you okay? So the picture for today is my late cat, Watson. And this was the very first picture I ever snapped of him. This is when I lived in an apartment with my then husband, and we lived near the Plattsburgh State campus. And there were some cats hanging around the neighborhood. And you had met one of them earlier in this series, and that was Crick. Crick was able to be rescued by us earlier. And he, I think, became an inside cat sometime in November. But I tried desperately to get Watson inside, and he was a bit more stubborn because he was a bit more shy. But this picture, this is my Watson. This is my soul cat. I have been lucky to be a guardian and caretaker to many cats in my life, but this cat, Watson, was one of a kind. Watson, if you can tell by this picture, had a human face. And the look at this cat, just looking back and trusting me in this picture and in this moment, means the world to me, and it still does to this day. See, Watson and his brother, I think, as I'd mentioned in a previous look back, I believe they were kittens that were kittens because they were cool to have as pets, and then when they got a little bit bigger, they were put outside by some of the kids that lived in the college housing behind our apartment. And they were very skittish and very shy, but we fed them and we talked to them, and slowly but surely we gained their trust. And this picture was taken before Crick came inside. Like I said, I believe he came in mid-November. I'd have to actually go back and look, but because Watson eventually became an inside cat in December. So this is October, and a few months later, I was able to get him inside, and that's a whole story for maybe I'll tell it through this. I don't know. Anyway, so Watson, I don't even know what it is about this cat. I fell in love with his human face and his little eyeliner and his little pink lip. And all I wanted was so desperately to get this cat inside my house and love him. And I figured that maybe it would be a hard thing to get him inside. Maybe he will never allow me to have him inside, but I will do everything I can to protect him and take care of him when he's outside, because I fell in love with this cat at first sight. So this picture was a big deal. This was the very first picture I was ever able to catch of him, because he was able to sit on the stair there and let me be that close to him to take his picture. And I decided that this very first picture of him is important to use as today's retrospective, because I don't think I've ever really processed the grief of losing that cat 10 years later, almost to the day of him being welcomed into my home. So I think I'm going to show you a few pictures of Watson from his first to some of his other October Project pictures, and a little bit of why he has his name. So this was the very first picture that I ever took of him, and this was a picture that was taken of him the night that he was rescued. I guess I'll tell the story. I kind of did him dirty, I suppose, because I was so scared. And this first picture taken October 17th, 2009. And this next picture was taken on December 20th, 2009. So we had a couple of months between this picture and me finally being able to capture him. What I do remember is that we did get Crick in when it was still It was cold, but it wasn't as cold as it can get here in the North Country. And then we got Crick inside, and then for almost 2 weeks, I didn't see Watson in the backyard. And my heart was broken because I said, oh no, we took his buddy and now he doesn't know what to do and all of this other stuff. And it was just, I was in a pretty sad state because all I wanted to do was make this little kitty mine. And my former husband was not home. He was down taking care of my in-laws at the time. And I dutifully every day looked for Watson. And on December 20th, I was able to make sort of a chafing dish. I saw him and I said, oh my God, he's here. And I put some warm water and some cat food in a dish so it kept it warm and not frozen. And he smelled it, he saw it, and it was the first time I'd seen him in almost 2 weeks. And it was so brutally cold those 2 weeks. And well, I put it on the inside of the little stairway up to my apartment, and he came inside. And as he came inside, I kicked that son of a bitchin' door hard as I could, and I shut it behind him. And I scared him, and he was very mad, and I understood that. But I'm like, hey, you're inside now. So I ended up getting him up the stairs, as you see here, where he's all snuggled up. I think he was finally exhausted. But in the process of getting him inside, he bit my hand. And I was sort of nervous about this because he was an outside cat. I didn't know him. He didn't bite me very hard because what I learned in the years later that Watson didn't really have many teeth. I don't know what happened, if it was something malnutrition as a kitten, but he really only had his canines. So he bit me, but it wasn't hard, and it barely broke the skin. So I bring him, now mind you, this is December 20th. My former husband is coming back from Long Island to pick me up so I can spend the Christmas holidays with his family. And I had to tell him, well, I caught the cat, but I'm bringing him to the vet. What should I do? Should I tell her the truth that the cat bit me? And he goes, I don't know, because, well, if you tell her the truth, he might have to be put down, and that's going to break your heart. I said, yes. So I bring him to the vet, and I decided to fib. And, well, sort of fib. I said to the vet that, he didn't do anything wrong, this, that, and the other thing. And she was doing, telling me all the things that I needed to do. And I said, and she goes, well, if he bit anybody or whatever. And she kind of brought it up. And I said, well, I wasn't going to tell you this, but yes, he did bite me. It barely broke the skin. What should I do? And she was explaining to me that the protocol was to either destroy the animal or put him in quarantine. And I said, oh, quarantine's an option. And she said, yes. And it just so happened that we were going to Long Island. So this poor cat went from being an outside free-range cat of Court Street to being trapped by a lady on a back porch to going to the vet. Oh, wait, biting that lady. Going to the vet, and then from the vet going into quarantine in a local pet hotel for 10 days. And I was gone, and it broke my heart, and I just wanted to come back home, and I counted the days down until that poor cat was finally released to come to us. And I think he was in quarantine for 10 or 12 days. I honestly don't remember how long it was, but it was long. And he was, when I went to pick him up, I remember he was hiding in his litter box because he was so scared. And I have to say that this cat is the one thing probably the most that's ever taught me patience, because I worked with that cat for so long to get him to be the cuddle bug that he turned out to be. Now, this picture is taken in the second appearance of Watson in the October Project. And as you can see, he turned into a very well-adjusted house cat. The only thing is, he was a very scaredy boy still to the end of his time, pretty much. And he would always kind of hide on the outskirts of things and always made sure that he could have an easy escape should danger approach. Maybe somebody kicking a door to trap him in someplace. I don't know. But I know that that door kick was done with nothing but love. Sadly, on December 7th, 2019, I had to make the terrible decision to put Watson to sleep. He had declined quite rapidly with a sort of, I believe, kidney failure, and he spent the 2 days before I had to put him to sleep. He spent them in the animal hospital with an IV and fluids, and it was just really no quality of life for a cat that was as shy as him. He wasn't really used to being away from home, and he was sick, and I had to make that terrible decision to put him to sleep. And I ended the day the same way I started almost every time I tried to lure that cat out from underneath the bed or the shelving in the basement and to take him from his hiding place. I sang him Daisy Bell, only substituting Daisy for Watson. I rocked him and sang him to sleep one last time. Thank you for being my friend, Watson. Thank you for teaching me patience. And thank you for being part of the October Project. You are missed, always.